An argument between a man and his son ended in gunshots. This is according to Dothan police. The shooting happened late Sunday at the Biltmore Place apartment complex. Police say one of the men pulled out a firearm and the other responded by pulling out his own. One of the victims was treated at a local hospital and has been released. The other is in critical condition, suffering from a wound to his upper torso. Police did not specify whose injuries are more severe.